There's a kind of pain nobody talks about honestly. It's not heartbreak. It's not failure. It's not even grief. It's that quiet, heavy feeling of looking around your life and realizing I have no one. Nobody really understands me. If I fall, there will only be me to pick myself up. And the strange thing is, maybe you do have people around you. Family, friends, contacts. But deep down, where it really matters, you feel completely alone. I invite you to stay here with me. Not to fix this. Not to give you steps to follow. But to recognize something you may have been feeling alone in silence, without words to name it. Stay, because what we're going to explore isn't something that gets solved. It's something that gets recognized. An experience many carry hidden, believing they're alone in it. Maybe you're the strong person for everyone else. The one who listens. The one who solves problems. The one who holds. And yet, when it's your turn to fall apart, you don't know where to go. You don't know who to turn to, because nobody taught you how to need. They only taught you how to be needed. And now you're here, functioning, showing up every day, meeting every obligation. But inside there's an emptiness nobody sees. A question that repeats in silence. Where is everyone when I'm the one who needs support? Notice this without judging it. Just notice. You look at your phone, and there are no messages waiting for you. You scroll through social media, and it seems like everyone else has their people, their circle, their tribe. And you're here, moving through your day, doing what you have to do. But inside, you feel like nobody really knows how heavy your life feels. And here's the first thing that needs to be understood. Loneliness isn't just the absence of people. There are those who are alone in crowded rooms, in marriages, in families, in entire communities. The deepest loneliness isn't being physically alone. It's the gap between your interior and your exterior life. When who you really are has nowhere to land, nowhere to be seen, heard, found, you feel alone even when your contact list is full. So when you say, I have no one, maybe what you're really saying is this. I have no one who sees who I really am. No one who asks how I am and is prepared for the truth. No one I can lean on without feeling like a burden. And that hurts in a way that is no easy name. Especially for someone sensitive, someone aware. That kind of loneliness feels like a slow erosion of the soul. Like every day that passes without being truly seen, a part of you fades a little more. And nobody notices because you keep functioning. You keep smiling at appropriate moments. You keep answering, I'm fine when they ask. You've learned to exist in a way that goes unnoticed. But you notice. You notice the weight. You notice the silence. You notice the difference between being surrounded and being accompanied, between having contacts and having connection. And what makes it harder is you can't explain it without sounding dramatic, without sounding like you're exaggerating. So you stay quiet, and the distance grows between you and the world, between you and the people around you, between who you are and who you appear to be. And there's something else here, something few people recognize. Maybe you feel like you have no one because you spent years being someone for everyone else. The strong one, the one who fixes things, the one who listens, the stable one, the reliable one. And then one day the question hits, silent but devastating. Where is everyone now that I need someone? That question hurts. It hurts because it reveals something you didn't want to see. That maybe, without realizing it, you built relationships where your role was to hold, never to be held. Not because you're bad, not because others are bad, but because you learned early that you were valued for what you gave, not for who you were. So you leaned into giving. You became useful. You became the emotional center for other people's storms. And that worked for a while. But now you're exhausted. And when you look for somewhere to recharge, there's no one. Because people unconsciously see you as a role, not as a human with cracks. They think you're fine. They think you don't need checking on. They think you're strong and independent. And when your life collapses, they don't automatically think, maybe they need help, because you never taught them you could need it. It's not fair, but it's real. And here you are in the silence of that realization, feeling the weight of having held so much for so long, and wondering if anyone is ever going to ask how you really are. There's something about this loneliness that needs to be named more clearly. It's not just that you don't have people around. It's that the people you have don't know how to see you. And that's different, deeper, more complex. Stay with me because maybe you tried. Maybe you said something small. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. It's been hard. And the response was superficial. Everyone's tired. It'll get better. At least you have a job. And you learn something painful. That people don't always want the truth. They want the manageable version of you. The version that doesn't make them uncomfortable. The version that doesn't ask anything of them. So you stopped trying. Not dramatically. Just gradually. You started closing off. You started keeping things in. Until your inner world became a place where you live completely alone. And that's what nobody sees. That you can be in a room full of people and feel completely isolated. Because nobody is really with you. They're with you on the surface, but not where you actually exist. Notice how that feels without trying to change it yet. Just notice. There are moments when someone asks how you are, and there's a fraction of a second where you consider telling the truth. I'm sinking. I don't know how much more I can hold. I feel completely alone. But then you see their eyes and you know they're not ready for that answer. That they don't have space to hold what you're really carrying. So you say, I'm fine. And something in you dims a little more. Because every time you choose a safe answer over the honest answer, you distance yourself further from yourself. You become more of a stranger to your own experience. More disconnected from what you actually feel. And over time, you don't even know what's real anymore. Because you spent so long performing being okay that you forgot how to not be okay without guilt. This is the trap of emotional loneliness. It's not just that others don't see you. It's that you stop seeing yourself. You stop taking yourself seriously. You stop believing your pain deserves attention. And now when you try to reach yourself, to find what you actually need, there's just fog, confusion, noise from all the voices you internalize telling you it's not that bad, that others have it worse, that you should be able to handle it. So you handle it, you function, you exist, but you don't really live. You just survive, in silence, with an appropriate smile, with answers that don't bother anyone. And nobody knows. Nobody sees that inside you're completely alone with a weight you don't know how to name. There's something else here that few people recognize. Sometimes this loneliness isn't because the people around you are cruel. It's because they simply don't have the capacity to meet you where you actually are. If you're someone who feels deeply, who thinks deeply, who lives with emotional intensity most people don't touch, your inner world is on a different frequency. And the people in your current life maybe have never explored that frequency. Not because they're bad, but because they live in more superficial layers, where conversations are safe, where emotions are manageable, where vulnerability is uncomfortable. And you're here needing conversations that go beyond the superficial, needing to be seen in your complexity, in your contradiction, in your depth. And when you don't find that, you feel alienated, like you're too much or not enough, or simply incompatible with the world around you. This is one of the hardest lonelinesses, because there's no villain. There's no one to blame. There's just a fundamental disconnect between who you are and who the world around you can see. And living in that disconnect is exhausting. It's like speaking a language nobody else understands. It's like carrying something heavy, and when you ask for help, people can't see what you're holding. So you keep carrying it, alone, in silence. And you wonder if there will ever be someone who can simply be with you, without trying to fix you, without trying to minimize what you feel, without telling you everything will be fine, when you both know it's not that simple. Someone who can sit in the wait with you and say, I see how tired you are, and stay, without needing to solve anything. Just be. But that person hasn't appeared. Or if they appeared, they didn't stay. And now you're here navigating this life with a loneliness that has no easy solution. Stay with me. There's something else that needs to be seen. There's a question you probably asked yourself in the darkest moments. Is there something wrong with me? Why don't I have anyone? What is it that makes it so hard for me to connect in a way that seems so easy for others? And that question hurts, because it comes from a place of feeling fundamentally defective, like your loneliness is evidence that something in you is broken. But notice this carefully, with compassion. Your loneliness isn't evidence that you're broken. It's evidence that you've been living in spaces, relationships, patterns that don't have capacity for your whole truth. And that's not your failure. That's information. Information telling you that something needs to change. Not you, but where you are, who you're with, how you're relating to your own experience. Because deep loneliness often isn't a problem. It's a symptom. The symptom of being misaligned with your own life, of being in places that don't have space for who you really are. And when you live misaligned for a long time, you start to believe the problem is you, that you need to be less intense, less deep, less needy, less you. But that's not true. The truth is you deserve to be in spaces where you don't have to shrink, where your depth is welcome, where your needs aren't seen as burdens, where you can be completely yourself, and that's enough. Those spaces exist. Those people exist. But you won't find them if you keep shrinking to fit where you are now. And here's the hard part. Sometimes rising from this loneliness means accepting that you're going to spend time between worlds, not fully belonging where you were, not yet connected to where you're going. That in-between is brutal. It's the space where loneliness feels most acute, where you wonder if you made the right decision, if it's really worth looking for something different. But that in-between is also sacred, because it's there you discover something fundamental, that you can sit with yourself, that you can hold your own weight, that you don't need someone to come save you for your life to have value. Not because you don't need connection. You do. Everyone does. But because when you know you can be with yourself in the difficult, you change how you relate to everything else. You no longer desperately seek someone to fill the void. You seek people who can meet you where you actually are. And there's a huge difference in that. One comes from lack. The other comes from fullness. Even if that fullness feels fragile. Even if that fullness is built on difficult nights where it was just you and your pain and the decision not to abandon yourself. And maybe that's what this loneliness is trying to teach you. Not that you don't deserve company, but that you deserve company that actually sees you. And to find that, you first need to see yourself. You need to stop treating yourself like you don't matter. Stop minimizing your pain. Stop apologizing for needing. Stop shrinking your truth to make others comfortable. And when you start doing that, something shifts. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly. You start recognizing your own presence, your own voice, your own worth. And that becomes a foundation from which everything else can be built. Not perfectly, not without pain, but authentically. Because ultimately the question isn't, why don't I have anyone? The question is, am I willing to stop abandoning myself while I wait for someone to show up? And that question changes everything. So here we are in the silence of this exploration, and maybe something in you feels seen. Maybe something in you hurts a little less because it was finally named. The loneliness you feel isn't the end of your story. It's often the beginning of something deeper, the beginning of a real relationship with yourself. Not the performative version of you, not the role you play for others, but you in all your complexity, in all your contradiction, in all your truth. And that relationship, when you finally honor it, becomes something no one can take from you. It becomes a foundation that doesn't waver, even when everything else does. Because when you know you won't abandon yourself, when you know you'll be there for yourself in the difficult, you walk differently through the world. You speak differently. You choose differently. You no longer accept crumbs where you deserve full presence. You no longer shrink in spaces that have no room for your truth. You no longer perform being okay when you're not. And that scares some people, because your authenticity reflects their lack of it. But it also attracts. It attracts people who are doing the same inner work, who are learning to be with their own complexity. And those people, when they appear, feel different. You don't need to explain everything to them. You don't need to translate your experience into something more digestible. They simply see you, and that's enough. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not a magical moment where suddenly you have your tribe. It's gradual. It's finding one person, then maybe another. Small connections that feel real instead of performative. And in the meantime, while that happens or doesn't happen, you're learning something invaluable, that you can be with yourself, that your company is enough while you wait for company that deserves you. That doesn't eliminate the pain of loneliness. It doesn't eliminate the longing to be seen, but it makes it more bearable. because you're no longer alone with your loneliness. You're present with it, recognizing it, holding it. And there's a profound difference between being alone and feeling abandoned. One is a state, the other is a wound. When you stop abandoning yourself, you can be alone without feeling abandoned. You can hold your own hand in the difficult. You can say to yourself the words you need to hear. You can be, for the first time, the person you always needed. And that's not surrender. It's not resigning yourself to being alone forever. It's recognizing that the most important person who needs to see you is you. Because when you see yourself, when you honor yourself, when you take yourself seriously, others begin to do the same. Not because you change who you are, but because you change how you allow yourself to be treated. And maybe in this moment, in this silence, you can allow yourself something. Allow yourself to be exactly as you are, with all your loneliness, with all your pain, with all your need for connection. You don't need to fix yourself before you deserve to be seen. You don't need to be okay before you deserve company. You don't need to have everything figured out before you deserve love. You deserve to be seen exactly as you are now, in this moment, with all your imperfect humanity. And if nobody else sees it yet, start by seeing yourself. Start by recognizing your own presence, your own struggle, your own courage to keep being here, even when it's hard, because you're here. And that's not small. That's everything. If these words touch something in you, if you recognize your own experience in this exploration, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this space where we explore the silent truths few people name. Because your loneliness doesn't make you less. It makes you human. And your humanity in all its complexity and pain deserves to be honored. Maybe you feel like you have no one right now, but you have something no one can take from you. You have your own presence, your own awareness, your own capacity to be with yourself in the difficult. And that, while it doesn't eliminate the pain, is a foundation on which everything else is built. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying. Thank you for having the courage to look at this loneliness without running from it. For now, just breathe, just be, and remember, your story isn't finished. This chapter of loneliness isn't the end. It's just a chapter. Painful, yes, but not permanent. And in the meantime, while you navigate this chapter, you're not as alone as you think. There are others in the same silence, in this same search, in this same loneliness. And maybe that doesn't solve anything, but it makes the weight a little lighter. Knowing you're not the only one who feels this. You're not the only one wondering where everyone is. You're not the only one who needs to be seen and can't find where to land. You're here, and that's enough. Until our next encounter.